We would go rocking and be on the shore. She just had a way of being swift. She was just always ahead of me. I had a knack for finding rocks that looked like a heart. And so I would find one, I would say, "Hey Dix, look at this." And she'd turn around and she'd look, and I would say, because it was a heart, say, "I love you." And I had her attention, so I'd say, "Come on back, let's go this way."
The neurons are degenerating or they're dying. And when these neurons die, they disintegrate and the volume of the brain gets smaller or it gets shrunken. These neurons, they affect a certain area of the brain where we have the seat of memory. And as the hippocampus disintegrates, the person starts to have trouble with memory, like forming memories and retrieving memories.
Over 55 million people worldwide are diagnosed with some form of dementia. Around 6 in 10 will wander off at least once, often more than once. This can be extremely distressing for caregivers, family members, and those individuals diagnosed.
My name is Connie Shaler, and I'm from Boyne City, Michigan. Grew up here all my life. Dixie Lottie is my older sister, and we're one of 7 kids. She's number 3, I'm number 5. Here's 6 of us, and it almost looks like a set of twins, twins, twins. The first time I lost Dixie was at Disney World. It was night, so it was actually dark, and we were waiting for Tinkerbell to fly from the castle. And she said, "I want to get a full picture of the castle." She just never returned. It was probably half hour, 45 minutes before we were able to locate her. So we just kept a much closer eye on her all the time. Had a friend with me that was going to help drive and help with Dixie. We were at a convenience store, gas station and convenience store. I pulled over on the side in the parking area. She went in to go to the bathroom, and Dixie wasn't in the car. And I asked our friend, "Where is Dixie?" And she said, "I went out and looked and I couldn't find her." So I went in, I checked the women's bathroom, I checked the men's bathroom. I had a lot of fear, like, did she get on a bus? Did she walk away with someone else? Did someone take her? Just so many things ran through my mind. And I came out, I was beside myself, and stood outside and just looked around the area. And there was a huge open field. I just stood there beside myself, not knowing where I would begin to go next to look for Dixie. And she started walking across the field. It was a miracle.
In 2016, the state police joined with the Alzheimer's Association. We determined that there was a problem of people that had some sort of cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's or dementia, and they were going missing.
And if they're out in the community wandering or they're lost, we want to make sure that when the first responder is interacting with them, they're able to de-escalate the situation and get them back home safely with their friends and family.
We created this task force, got together, and we decided that we were going to create tools for law enforcement. Tools for law enforcement to be able to identify people that have Alzheimer's or dementia that go missing, what they do when they identify those situations, and then be able to have resources and programs available to them so that they can utilize for themselves and also for the caregivers and loved ones that have somebody that's diagnosed with this.
While we're in the service, I told her what we were going to do. Frank and I are going to go up and get communion, and you can come with us or you can stay here. She said, I'll stay here. Frank went up for communion, and I was like right behind him, and come around the right side aisle, and I look up and Dixie isn't anywhere to be seen. Now we're in a large city in North Carolina, and I can't see Dixie anywhere. And so I stood there, and Frank comes up along behind me, and I'm just like speechless. I said, I can't find Dixie. And she actually had gone in line and gotten communion herself. She's not Catholic, so that was like sort of rare for her. And she just followed everyone else and got communion and came back and sat down with us. But it was frightful again. When we came home from North Carolina, as we got closer to Lansing, I was sitting in the back seat, and I tapped my husband on the shoulder and said, don't even stop in Lansing. We're not going to her house. I have a suitcase full of her clothing. We're taking her home. And we did. And she never once asked to go back home.
Most individuals, they do not understand that wandering can be healthy. A person who has been active, very social, these are the individuals who might still retain that ability.
Less healthy forms of wandering can be due to overstimulation and anxiety, causing an instinct to escape whatever is causing them stress. Understimulation, like a lack of meaningful tasks, or a basic need like needing to use the bathroom or eat, but an inability to do so.
They might lose the sense of direction, or they might not know where they are, and they would just pace or wander to figure out an exit maybe, or to figure out if there is a familiar place that they will get to if they continue to keep walking.
She had a babysitter when her children were just born and, getting into school. Tish came and picked up Dixie one day for lunch, and they went into town. She said they shared a lunch at one of the local restaurants, and then they were just milling through some of the stores downtown. So they were inside at one of the stores, and Tish looked up and Dixie was gone. And being summer, the door was automatically open. Dixie had just walked out and just wandered away. And they had the police on bikes looking for her. Several of the store people were out looking for her. And she was in the middle of the street, which then went to the lake. And she was, in my mind, was headed back the way she had come, which was the restaurant was then down on the beach down there. She had no idea. Didn't know where she was. She was just walking.
I tell people all the time, caregivers, loved ones, neighbors, anybody that believes that somebody that has a cognitive impairment goes missing, please contact law enforcement immediately. I'd rather you contact us and it not be a situation to where we need to utilize any of our resources than for you to wait, and then we're behind the eight ball in trying to locate the individual.
If you notice the individual diagnosed is starting to wander off, but hasn't yet, calmly redirect them. This can be leading them to their intended destination, distracting them, or asking for help with something, giving them a sense of purpose.
These individuals are themselves in their 80s and 90s, and they think that they need to go to get home to their parents, and the parents are waiting for them. Or some are trying to get home because their kids are alone at home. They had just come from school. So understanding the behavior or the emotion behind the behavior and addressing that with compassion and care.
I don't think any time she knew she was really lost, but I always had my eyes on her. If she went outside, I would work at the kitchen, or I would go into our sunroom, and I could see where she was all the time. If she started down our driveway, I gave her enough distance until I knew that I needed enough time to catch up to her. The one most important thing I took away was leave the emotion out of it. And once I learned how to do that, you're able to take care of them. Everything seems to be matter of fact. It's how can you get them through the situation that might be escalating? How can you get them through it without increasing their anxiety?
Wandering is not always bad. We should not try to abolish wandering, but we should always try to accommodate wandering, create spaces where people can freely walk.
When you have a family member that is wandering, some of the things that you can do is placing deadbolts out of line of sight, using night lights throughout your home, covering doorknobs with cloth the same color as the door, camouflaging your doors by painting them the same color as the walls.
If you have a loved one or somebody that you care for that suffers from this, chances are they've probably wandered before, and they'll probably wander again. So it's good to utilize law enforcement and let them know maybe ahead of time that you have somebody that's in your care or in your household that may wander. And then you have that relationship with law enforcement so that when you call, they already know that they may have to respond. They may have to respond immediately because you have these high-risk situations that can occur.
When she first was diagnosed, we have a niece, she's a registered nurse, and she asked Dixie what bothered her the most about knowing that she has Alzheimer's. And she said, I don't want to be a burden on anyone. Hey, Dixie. How are you? Hi. Oh. You look pretty great today. Yeah. So my sister Betty reminded me numerous times, remember, Dixie doesn't want to be a burden. Things changed within a matter of just a couple of weeks. She had fallen in the shower. I was right there. Can I get you to take a drink? I was able to help lower her to the floor because I couldn't help her stand. After the ambulance had to come a second time, I said, I can't take care of her. She needs more than what I can do for her. Wow. Went with Dixie to her room, and we're basically moving her in, and they walked around. We all had lunch together there, and I stayed for the rest of the day because I had been putting Dixie to bed for 2 years. And so I stayed and put her to bed, did the ritual just like we always did. She never once asked for me to take her home. And sometimes when you hold them in your hand, they poop. Oh my gosh, Dave would think that's pretty funny. Dixie doesn't speak hardly even words at all anymore. She's now in a wheelchair. You know, it's all a progression. So many people go at a different pace. Everyone is different. Their family chemistry and who they have for support that goes to visit their people. Just everything is so different. That birdhouse there, I rocked it. And it's got a pretty flower in the front. Looks like a daisy, a black-eyed Susan. You used to have those in your garden. Black-eyed Susans and dandelions. Bill used to make dandelion wine, didn't he?